The human enters the forbidden zone. Captain. Darren walked slowly through the thick red mist. The air was hot and dry. Sharp rocks stuck out of the cracked ground, and strange sounds echoed from far away. He knew this was the Shakar Wastes, a place feared by many across the galaxy. No human dared to come here. The story said no one who entered ever came back. But Darren had a reason. He wasn't here for glory or adventure. He had followed a strange signal. A distress beacon had been sent from deep inside this forbidden land. And it wasn't just any beacon. It carried an old Earth code, a military one. The kind only used in extreme emergencies. How could a human code come from here? Darren whispered to himself. He checked his scanner again. The signal was growing stronger. His boots crunched over the dry soil as he moved forward, careful and alert. Strange skeletons lay scattered around, creatures with long claws and twisted horns. Darren knew these weren't just animals. They were guards. Something, or someone, lived here and didn't want visitors. Suddenly, his scanner beeped louder. Then it stopped. Silence. Everything around him went quiet. No wind, no buzzing, bugs, not even the distant screeches from the canyon. Darren looked up and then he saw her. Standing high on a black rock was a tall alien girl with glowing blue eyes and wild silver hair that moved like it had a life of its own. She wore dark armor made from bones and scales. But the most terrifying thing was the creature beneath her. It was a massive beast, 8 feet tall, covered in thick fur with fangs longer than Darren's arm. Its eyes glowed yellow and it growled low, deep like thunder hiding in its chest. The alien girl pulled the reins. The beast stepped forward. "You shall not pass, human," she growled in perfect English. Darren froze. Her voice was sharp and strong. She didn't sound robotic or translated. She sounded real, like she had learned his language. But how? Darren didn't move. He raised his hands slowly, showing he wasn't here to fight. "I'm not your enemy," he said calmly. "I'm here because of a signal. Someone called for help." The girl's eyes narrowed. She jumped off the beast in one smooth motion, landing softly like a trained warrior. She pointed a long spear at him. Her skin was pale violet. Her face, smooth but fierce, young but dangerous. "No help comes from humans," she said coldly. "You are killers, thieves, liars. Go back before I tear your bones for the fire." Darren didn't step back. He kept his eyes on hers. "Then why did the signal use a human military code?" he asked. She blinked, just for a second. That second told him everything. She knew. The signal was connected to her. Before she could speak, the beast growled louder and moved toward Darren. Its claws dug into the ground. Its breath was hot and heavy. One wrong move and it would crush him. Darren reached for his sidearm slowly, but just as he touched the handle, her voice rang out. "Don't." The beast stopped. Darren looked at her again. Her hand was raised. The creature obeyed her. She had full control. "Who are you?" Darren asked softly. "Why do you speak my language?" "I learned it from my mother," she replied. "Long ago, before humans destroyed her." She turned her head, hiding a flicker of pain in her eyes. Darren saw it just for a heartbeat. Anger, but also sadness. "I don't know what happened to your mother," Darren said, "but I'm not here to hurt anyone." She stared at him, long, silent. Then, with a wave of her hand, 2 more alien figures stepped out of the shadows. Warriors, holding bone blades and ropes. "Take him," she said. The warriors rushed forward and tied Darren's hands. He didn't fight back. The alien girl climbed back onto her beast. The creature turned and the group began moving toward the cliffs in the east. Darren walked in silence, surrounded by enemies. His hands were tied, but his mind was racing. Who was she? What was this place? And why did a long-forgotten human signal lead him to her? As the red sun sank lower into the dust-filled sky, the beast roared once again, and the wasteland trembled. Her name was Rilke. The camp sat hidden in the sharp cliffs, lit by glowing blue stones stuck into the rock walls. Smoke from strange fires curled upward, filling the air with a sweet but bitter smell. Alien warriors stood on watch, their eyes never resting. Creatures with insect legs and scaled tails moved quietly through the shadows, serving food and tending to weapons. Darren sat alone near a wooden post, hands still tied but his mind alert. They hadn't hurt him. Not yet. That alone was strange. Usually, if someone hated humans this much, they would strike fast. But this girl, the one who rode, the beast had something else in her eyes, not just hate, confusion, memory, pain. He saw her again now across the fire. She was sitting with her back straight, her long silver hair falling down her shoulders. She was sharpening her spear. Her face was calm, but her eyes were burning with something deeper. A warrior approached her and spoke quickly in their native tongue. Darren didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Anger, warning, doubt. The girl didn't even look at the warrior. She answered without emotion, like a leader who didn't need approval. Then she stood and walked straight toward Darren. She stopped 2 steps away, her sharp eyes fixed on his. "I saw you hesitate," she said. "You had your hand on your weapon, but you didn't draw." "I'm not here to kill," Darren replied. "I came because someone asked for help." "There's no help here," she said coldly. "Only history. And blood." She dropped something in front of him, a piece of metal. It was bent and rusted, but Darren recognized it instantly. It was part of a human dog tag, military ID. He looked up at her, shocked. "Where did you get this?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked away, calling. Over her shoulder, "Come with me." The guards cut his ropes. They didn't speak. One of them pushed him lightly forward. They led him through the cliffs deeper into the rocks until they reached a sealed cave. She placed her hand on a stone, and it glowed. The rock wall opened. Inside was something unexpected. Not weapons. Not bones. A small hidden room. Clean. Quiet. Cold. Old human tech was scattered around, a broken helmet, a damaged datapad, and next to it, an old faded photograph. Darren stepped closer. He stared in silence. The picture showed a human soldier, young, tired, smiling. In his arms was a baby girl. Her skin was violet. Her eyes were glowing, and around her wrist and was the same bracelet the alien girl wore now. He looked up, stunned. She was watching him. "That man," she said slowly. "He saved my life when I was a baby. My people were hunted. My mother was dying. She gave me to him, told him to run." Her voice cracked slightly, but she didn't cry. She had cried all her tears long ago. "He ran, he hid me, he gave me food, warmth, songs, he spoke earth words. I didn't understand back then, but now, I remember them." Darren stepped forward. "What was his name?" "I don't know," she said. "He died protecting me. And after that, I was taken back by the tribes. They called him a thief, a liar, a kidnapper. But he saved you." Darren whispered. "Yes. And because of that, I never forgot the human tongue." Darren finally asked the question burning in his heart. "What's your name?" She looked into his eyes for a long time, then spoke, soft but proud. "Rilke, daughter of fire, beast whisperer, and last blood of the Nightborn tribe." Darren felt something shift inside him. She wasn't just a warrior. She was a living link between 2 broken worlds, human and alien. He now knew the signal was more than just a call for help. It was a message from the past, a bridge waiting to be rebuilt. Suddenly, a loud horn blasted from the cliffs above. Warriors screamed. The ground shook. Dust fell from the cave ceiling. Rilke grabbed her spear. "Raiders, from the Black Claw clan. They've come to take what's not theirs." She turned to Darren. "I don't care if you're human. I need fighters. Are you one?" Darren stood tall, even with bruises on his arms and dirt on his face. "I'm not just a fighter," he said. "I'm a survivor." She smiled faintly. Then follow me, human. Let's see what you're really made of. The beast knows the truth. The cliffs shook with each thunderous blast. Black smoke rose from the outer edges of the alien camp. Darren followed Rilke through a narrow, rocky path lit by glowing stones. Alien warriors rushed past them, shouting, battle cries in their native tongue, gripping jagged weapons made of bone and crystal. Darren didn't have a weapon, not yet, but his mind was sharp. His eyes stayed on the path, and on her. Rilke moved like a shadow. Her spear was already ready, her face calm but focused. The beast that once carried her into battle was nowhere to be seen. Tied deep in the cave, it had been locked away after the tribe called Darren's presence a curse. Now that same beast would decide what happened next. As they reached the outer rim of the camp, Darren saw the enemy. The Black Claw clan, tall, dark-armored brutes with jagged teeth and red war paint, were pushing forward with giant iron machines that spat fire and sparks. "This is madness," Darren muttered. "You don't have the numbers." Rilke didn't respond. She pointed toward the center ridge. "We have something they don't." And then, it roared. The ground shook. Stones cracked beneath their feet. From the far end of the cliffs, the massive beast, Rythor, emerged from the smoke, but it wasn't charging at the enemy. It was running toward Darren. Warriors shouted. Arrows flew, spears were raised. Darren stood still. The beast stopped only a few feet away from him, panting heavily, its eyes locked on his. Darren didn't run. He didn't draw a weapon. He simply raised a hand. Everyone held their breath. Yo! Massive creature lowered its head and bowed. Gasps spread across the cliffs. Rilke's eyes widened. That's not possible. Rythor, the untamable sacred beast of the tribe, had never bowed to anyone, not even Rilke. It had obeyed only out of tradition, out of ancient command. But now, it chose Darren. Darren slowly stepped forward, placed a hand on the beast's thick fur and whispered, "You know me, don't you?" Something inside him stirred, a memory, not his, but passed down, his father's voice, his father's stories, the old missions. He remembered the bedtime tales about an alien child, about a mission that went wrong, about a beast that protected her. That child was Rilke, and this beast had seen his father before. "Rythor remembers," Rilke said, almost in a whisper. "He remembers your bloodline." Darren looked up at her. "Then maybe it's time we stop remembering hate and start fighting together." Rilke climbed onto the beast's back and reached down. Without hesitation, she pulled Darren up behind her. The warriors watched, confused, afraid, but also in awe. Their ancient laws were being broken, but something deeper was happening, something older than fear. "The enemy is still coming," Rilke said. "We ride, you guide." "You trust me now?" Darren asked. "No," she replied with a faint smile. "But Rythor does." With one sharp kick, the beast charged forward like a falling star. The wind tore past them, the sky glowing red with flames from the battle. They leapt over boulders, crashed through burning barricades, and dove straight into the heart of the fight. Darren saw things in slow motion, flashes of spears, shouts of pain, enemy soldiers spinning out of the way as Rythor's claws smashed into their machines. He saw warriors on both sides freeze. Humans and aliens had never fought together, not like this. And yet here he was, on the back of a sacred alien beast, riding into war with the very girl who had once called him enemy. Rilke shouted, "Hold tight!" The beast leapt off a high cliff and landed inside the enemy camp, crushing one of their war engines beneath its paws. Enemy warriors scattered, but one stood firm. A tall figure in black armor, with a horned helmet and burning red eyes. His voice echoed through the dust. "So, the human returns." Darren narrowed his eyes. "You know me?" "No," the enemy replied. "But I knew your father. I killed him." Rilke froze. The fire around them burned brighter. The beast growled. Darren clenched his fists. "This war isn't about tribes anymore," he said. It's about truth. And this time, he wasn't going to run. The arena of fire. The wind stopped. The sky turned dark with smoke. Time itself seemed to freeze. Darren stared at the man who had removed the black helmet, and he couldn't believe what he saw. A human. Scarred. Gray eyes, sharp jaw, wrinkles around his mouth and forehead, but his body was strong, armored, ready to kill. Rilke stood beside Darren, eyes wide with shock. "You're one of them?" she whispered. The man gave a cruel smile. "I was. Until your people turned on us," he said, pointing at Rilke. "We came to help them. We trained them. We gave them medicine and machines. But they betrayed us. They killed my team, all of them, except me." Darren stepped forward, fists clenched. "And so you joined the Black Claw Raiders?" The man nodded. "I gave them weapons, taught them human tactics. Now I lead them. Because at least they understand one thing, and strength." "You're a coward," Rilke hissed. He laughed. "And yet your people follow my orders now." Darren raised his voice. "This doesn't end with war. We can stop it." "No," the man said, cutting him off. "It ends with fire." He threw a flare into the sky. A massive explosion roared behind them. The beast howled in pain as the ridge they'd come from collapsed under falling rock. The enemy had set traps. The cliffs were no longer safe. Darren and Rilke jumped off the beast as it staggered back. The raiders surrounded them now, warriors in dark armor forming a circle with weapons raised high. The old human warrior walked forward. No running this time, no beast, no allies. He looked at Rilke, then pointed at Darren. "You want peace? Prove your strength, fight me in the arena of fire, one trial, no weapons, no help. Win and you walk free, lose and the girl dies too." Rilke stepped in front of Darren. "He's not one of us, you can't force him." But Darren gently placed a hand on her arm. "I accept." She turned sharply. "Are you crazy? You don't know their rules. Their arena is built to kill. I'm not afraid," he said. "If this is the only way to protect you and your people, I'll do it." Rilke looked at him, really looked, and for the first time she saw the same fire her mother once spoke of. A human with courage, with heart. Not all humans were monsters. She said nothing, but didn't stop him. That night, the arena of fire was lit. It wasn't a place. It was a ritual, a circle of molten stone glowing from underground heat, surrounded by sharp black spikes. The crowd of alien raiders and warriors shouted from the edges, banging drums and bones together. It wasn't a fight. It was a ceremony of death. Darren stood barefoot inside the circle. His chest rose and fell slowly. He could smell the heat in the air. The lava pits beneath the arena floor bubbled softly. Across from him, the enemy human, Commander Thorn, entered, bare-chested but armored with rage and old scars. His fists were like hammers. "This is for my fallen crew," Thorn said coldly. "No," Darren replied. "This is for a future they died trying to build." The horn sounded, and the fight began. Thorn moved fast. Too fast. Darren dodged left, but not fast enough. A punch hit his ribs, then another across his jaw. Pain shot through his face. He staggered but didn't fall. He focused. He wasn't stronger, but he was smarter. He let Thorn throw wide swings. He ducked, rolled, then kicked hard. At Thorn's knee, a crack, a grunt. Thorn stumbled. Darren moved in, striking quick. 1, 2, then rolled back before Thorn's fist slammed into the stone where his head had just been. From the edge of the arena, Rilke watched, gripping her hands so tightly her knuckles turned white. "You can win," she whispered. "Just don't give up." Inside the circle, Darren knew his chance had come. Thorn was limping now, slower, breathing heavier. "You fight like your father," Thorn growled. Darren narrowed his eyes. "Then this is for him." He rushed forward, jumped off a stone ledge, and spun mid-air. His foot connected to Thorn's head with full force. The enemy fell, flat, striking the hot stone. Silence. Then, the horn sounded again. Darren had won. The crowd was frozen. Even the enemy raiders didn't know how to react. Commander Thorne lay unconscious, blood dripping from his mouth. The sacred rules had been followed. The trial was over. Rilke ran forward, pushed past the guards, and reached Darren. "You're alive." He smiled weakly. "That's becoming my new habit." But then, a shadow fell across the arena, and a huge warship descended from the clouds above, and from its underbelly dropped something ancient, large, and glowing, a forgotten weapon of the ancients now awakened. The vault of the ancients. The air turned cold. Everyone in the arena looked up as the ancient warship hovered over them. Its body was dark silver, covered in strange alien symbols that glowed softly. It made no sound, no engines, just a deep hum, like the sound of a sleeping giant waking up. Darren stood beside Rilke, both of them frozen in place. From beneath the ship, a wide beam of light shot down and hit the center of the arena. Then a soft robotic voice echoed from the beam, speaking in perfect English and an alien dialect at the same time. "Blood of both worlds detected, initiating reset." Rilke's eyes widened. "What is it saying?" Darren whispered. "It knows who we are." Before anyone could run, the beam pulled them both upward. Darren and Rilke floated off the ground. The crowd shouted in fear, but no one could stop it. Not even the beast, who roared as they disappeared into the ship. Inside, the light faded. They were standing in a round room made of silver and glass. Symbols moved across the walls like living ink. The air was clean, the silence deep. In the center stood a large machine, a sphere with hundreds of blinking lights. Then a screen appeared, and on it was a face. An old human commander. Kind eyes, a strong voice. "Hello," it said. "If you're seeing this, it means the future has one last chance." Darren stepped closer. "I know that voice." The hologram continued. "I am General Arlen Reeves. In the last war, we fought side by side with the Alari people, humans and aliens united. But after we won, fear returned. Lies were told. History was changed, the alliance was broken. We went from friends to enemies. I built this ship as a time capsule, a vault, so that one day, when someone from both bloodlines stood together again, truth would be reborn." Rilke placed her hand on the glowing sphere. "Why me?" The screen changed. It showed images from the past, her mother, an alien leader, and Darren's father, a human soldier, cradling a baby in his arms. "That child," Darren whispered. "That's you." "My mother gave me to your people," Rilke said softly. "To protect me. And your mother trusted my father," Darren added. "He must have recorded this." The machine responded again. "You carry the memory of the old world. You carry the hope of the new." Suddenly, a deep alarm rang. The screen flickered. "Warning. Enemy forces detected. The vault must be protected." A panel on the wall opened, revealing weapons. Not just any weapons. Ancient, powerful, and beautiful. One glowed with blue energy. Another looked like a hybrid of human steel and alien crystal. Darren took one. Rilke grabbed another. "They're coming," she said, looking at the screen showing raider ships approaching outside. "Then let's show them what real unity looks like," Darren replied. They were dropped back down into the cliffs, but this time not as captives, as warriors. The vault ship hovered above, now glowing with full energy. It sent waves of power into the rocks below, waking up ancient turrets, defensive towers, and machines buried for centuries. The Black Claw army panicked. Rilke raised her weapon, which pulsed with violet light. She aimed at a war tank and fired. A silent beam shot out. Then the tank exploded like it was made of paper. Darren moved beside her, blasting through the enemy lines. The beast roared from the top of the ridge, charging down to fight beside them. The tribes watched in awe. For the first time, they saw what true strength looked like, not from hate, but from trust. Darren called out, "Warriors of both tribes, the past has lied to you." He stood on a stone platform, the ancient weapon in his hand glowing bright. Rilke stood beside him, her eyes burning with truth. Our parents fought together to protect life, she shouted. We were made to believe they were enemies. But now, we've seen the truth. Darren raised his arm. And now we fight not to destroy each other, but to stop those who profit from our fear. Some warriors lowered their weapons. Others dropped to their knees. Even the elders began to whisper. The prophecy. It's real. Just as peace began to rise, a shadow fell across the land again. The sky split open, revealing a massive command ship unlike anything seen before. Darren's eyes narrowed. It's him, Commander Thorn. Rilke tightened her grip on her weapon. He's not finished. From the ship, a new voice echoed across the land. You opened the vault. Now, you die with it. The battle for the skies. The sky was on fire. The command ship of Commander Thorn hovered above the cliffs like a monster made of steel and rage. Its engines burned red. Its weapons glowed. It rained fire down on the land, blasting ancient towers, cracking the cliffs and shaking the earth. The united tribes ran for cover. Smoke and dust covered the battlefield. Screams filled the air. But in the center of the chaos, Darren and Rilke stood together, strong, ready, not afraid. Their weapons, gifts from the vault of the ancients, glowed brighter now. As if the weapons knew it was time. Darren shouted, This, is it? Rilke nodded. Then let's end it. Together. Behind them, the beast Rythor roared and stomped its feet. The mountain trembled. Alien warriors, once divided, now stood side by side with others they once called enemies. Humans, too. Those who had lived in secret came out from the rocks and ruins. The vault had awakened more than weapons. It had awakened hope. Commander Thorn stood inside his ship, watching from a high deck. His eyes burned with fury. They turned the tribes against me, he growled. They made me the villain. He pressed a button. Deploy everything. From his ship, black drones flew out like a storm of insects. Giant war mechs followed, stomping toward the battlefield. Explosions lit the sky. Darren and Rilke charged first. Rythor carried them across the shattered battlefield like thunder on 4 legs. Darren jumped from the beast and slid down a ridge, firing at the nearest mech. The ancient weapon he carried shot, a beam that sliced through metal like butter. Rilke fought like fire. Her blade danced through the air, striking down drones with lightning speed. Her warriors followed her, fighting as one, united in her fire. The ground battle grew fierce, but then, the sky answered back. The vault ship, still hovering above the cliffs, lit up once more. A massive energy shield formed over the battlefield, blocking Thorn's ship from launching more attacks. Then for the first time, a new voice spoke from the vault ship itself. Unified signal detected. Battle protocol authorized. Humanity and Elari alliance restored. All across the battlefield, hidden weapons rose from the rocks, old, glowing machines left by the ancients. They began firing at Thorn's forces. With deadly precision, Thorn's soldiers panicked. Even his own raiders began to retreat. Inside the chaos, Thorn shouted, Enough! He grabbed his rifle and launched himself from the ship in a personal drop pod, straight toward the ground. The pod smashed into the earth near Darren and Rilke. The door burst open. Thorn stepped out, burning with rage. You think this changes anything? I survived once before. I'll do it again. Darren stepped forward. You betrayed the mission. You turned hope into war. Thorn raised his weapon. You're just a boy. I'm my father's son, Darren said, and he believed peace was worth dying for. Rilke stood beside him. And I'm the child you tried to erase. They didn't wait for Thorn to shoot. They attacked. The final fight began. Blades clashed. Guns roared. Sparks flew in every direction. Thorn fought with the strength of a beast, but his heart was full of poison. Darren fought with strategy, using his speed and calm thinking. Rilke fought with heart, each move sharp, strong, full of fire and memory. Together, they were unstoppable. Rilke struck first, knocking Thorn's rifle away. Darren followed, landing a hard punch that sent the commander to the ground, but Thorn laughed. "You think killing me will fix this?" Darren didn't answer. He didn't have to. From the skies above, the vault ship charged a final blast. Last threat identified, executing. A beam of pure light shot down, surrounding Thorn. In seconds, he was gone. No body, no blood. Just silence. The war ended, not with more death, but with truth. The raiders dropped their weapons. The tribes raised their flags. The beast Rethor stood still, watching the sun rise through the smoke-filled sky. Darren turned to Rilke. "It's over." She looked at him with calm, but also something new. "Peace." "No," she said softly. "It's just beginning." They walked to the highest cliff. From there, they could see the entire battlefield. Broken, burning, but also quiet and alive. The final roar. The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke still rose from the ground. Metal pieces from broken drones and war machines lay everywhere. But the gunfire had stopped. The screaming had ended. Only the soft wind moved through the valley. Darren stood at the edge of the cliff. His armor was torn, his face bruised, but his eyes were calm. Beside him, Rilke stood tall, her long silver hair blowing in the breeze. Her people had gathered behind them. Even former enemies stood together now, shoulders straight, weapons lowered. They had won. But victory felt heavier than expected. From above, the vault ship still hovered. Its lights pulsed slowly, like it was breathing. Then, for the last time, its voice echoed through the sky. "Final scan complete. Target eliminated." But system records show Commander Thorn was not acting alone. Rilke's face turned serious. "What does it mean?" Darren narrowed his eyes. "Data reveals Thorn made contact with an external source, not human, not Ilari. Identity unknown." The ship's voice paused. Then it spoke again, but in a deeper, older tone. "The true enemy is awakening." Everyone went silent. Even the beast Rethor, standing behind Rilke, growled low, as if it felt something wrong in the wind. Darren stepped forward. "What enemy?" The vault answered. "An ancient power, lost to time. They call themselves the Silence. They feed on conflict. They watched your war. And now they come to finish what Thorn started." Suddenly, stars above flickered. The sky dimmed. A cold breeze swept the land. Something was changing. Rilke turned to Darren. "If they're real, then this was only the beginning." Darren nodded. "And we'll be ready." Over the next few days, the tribes worked together. Broken homes were rebuilt. Fires were put out. The wounded were treated with both alien herbs and human medicine. For the first time in many generations, peace had returned. The beast, Rethor, stayed by Rilke's side, calm now, like a protector who had done its duty. The two great weapons, one in Darren's hands, the other in Rilke's, were placed in the Temple of Fire as symbols of unity. The vault ship stayed in the sky above, like a guardian star, always watching. One evening, Darren and Rilke stood under the twin moons. He looked at her. "You once told me I couldn't pass." She smiled softly. "I also said I would tear your bones apart." He laughed. "I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you stayed." Silence passed between them, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with meaning. She reached into her bag and pulled out the old photograph, the one of her as a baby in his father's arms. "This picture," she said, "changed everything." Darren took it in his hand. And finally, he smiled. The next morning, a new ceremony took place, not one of war or trial, but one of unity. Alien and human leaders stood together before a crowd. Flags of old tribes were raised high beside earth banners. Children of both races played together without fear. And Rilke stood in the center, proud, holding a new title, Ambassador of Two Worlds. Darren was named Protector of the Peace, a voice for truth and honor. Their journey had started with fire, hate, and fear, Now it stood on peace, memory, and trust. But deep in the stars, something else moved. Far beyond the edge of known space, in the cold dark, a strange shape floated, silent, waiting. Inside it, glowing red eyes blinked open. A machine, a mind, a creature not alive, not dead. Watching, waiting, recording everything. Back on the cliffside, Rilke stood beside Darren one last time. They looked at the stars together. "The silence is coming," she said. "Yes," he replied. "Will you fight beside me again?" Darren turned, placed his hand gently over hers. "Always." She smiled, eyes glowing under the moonlight, and as Ryther let out one final echoing roar that shook the mountains and the sky, the next chapter of their story began.